I think at this point, we can probably stop for a minute and take a look at all of the different locations that we have uncovered using Google Earth Pro that reveal these pentagon structures and start to maybe theorize a little bit about what they are. Now, my number one candidate is Stargate Network, one for the planet, not one for the solar system or the galaxy or whatever else. Basically because of the discovery that I made long before this, here on the left. This is a location, Google Earth Pro. Many of my regular viewers have been here before, looking into different places in Antarctica. I found this circular structure that looks like it's standing upright, much like the one on the right. It's got supports. It has, if we zoom out here, it has kind of a ramp leading up to it. It has kind of a burnt, scorched area in the back. Those of you who are familiar with the Stargate franchise will understand what all of that means. Those of you who aren't, just a real quick tutorial. Where to start? All right, so the series is based on this technology that there are these rings, and you can use them to travel from planet to planet. Now, this is in the series, of course. The thing in the lower right there, it's called a DHD for lack of a better term. That's what they gave it. It's a device used to basically dial up 7 letters, and they correspond to a very specific location in the universe. The ring would spin, a giant event horizon would appear like this. You would then walk through it, and then you would appear at that location. Now, it took them a while to get it going because they didn't account for stellar drift, they didn't have the right kind of power, all this kind of stuff. One of the locations the original location they found was in Egypt. And they dug that one up and they brought it back to Cheyenne Mountain and they got it to work there. But later on, they discovered one in Antarctica. And as you can see, this is a shot from, of course, the TV series where they use this to travel from place to place. And they have different teams that go, and the series went on for, I think, 15 years. And it was, of course, the Air Force that did it. Here's, of course, a map. It's got all the lines, much like what we are showing on Google Earth Pro, but this is just one on a much larger scale. And in one of the episodes, they end up, one of the teams coming back to Cheyenne Mountain, ends up activating, by accident, the hidden Stargate they didn't know about down in Antarctica. And the teams back in Colorado, not knowing where they were, took them forever in correlating a bunch of seismic data to figure out where to go find them. And of course, they rescue them just in time. Now, there's something else that we found, and I kind of glossed over it, and I shouldn't have probably done that, that makes me believe that this is really what's going on. Now, I'm just going to bring up this picture real quick, just so everybody can have a real good look at how similar these features are. In the very end of the series, of at least the first series, they find that if they add this 8th coordinate, they can then travel outside of the galaxy, our galaxy, to another one, where they end up at this giant floating city that pretty much mimics Atlantis. While they're there, they come across these little tiny craft, and basically they are the minivans of the universe. They aren't particularly powerful, they're not particularly fast, and they're referred to as puddle jumpers in the series. And as you can see here, they have these little tiny wings that open up and then they close, and basically the idea here is that these things are just big enough to fit through a standard Stargate. And here's a quick GIF of what they're doing there. Okay, so you have the idea, right? Now, the reason I led in with all of that is, let me kick the locations back on here. I had talked about a couple videos ago this very strange location. It's up here near Deception Island, and this is the part that I kind of glossed over. Now, looking at this, It really depends on the angle that, first of all, the image was taken. But when you look at this closely, and I mean really closely, this very much resembles, generally speaking, that craft either entering or exiting the water here. And I'm going to try to do a side-by-side here of an actual photograph taken from one of our satellites. Now here's, of course, an artist's rendering. There's so much detail in this, it's pretty hard to imagine that you could see anything else. You have this kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of a round log-shaped craft, really, with its flat on the bottom. And you can see what looks like a light here, and you can see some type of a light here. Given that this resembles this so much, and that I've literally found on the surface of Antarctica pretty much a Stargate. Now in the series, everything was set on hexagons, not pentagons. But it might be one of these types of things where it's just soft disclosure, where somebody was maybe attached to somebody who knew that this was going on, and so they maybe pushed this story to someone in Hollywood, and they made just enough changes in it so that they could kind of let it fly. Because this, I don't know what else this could possibly be. It's not a rock. This isn't a volcanic eruption. There's no steam or clouds here. This part on top, this kind of clamshell looking thing, I don't know what that could be, honestly, but whatever it is, it's making one hell of a disturbance. And I'm trying to basically look at this. I want to say it looks like it's coming up out of the water. And the reason I say this is that when you see all of the disturbance below, that looks like that might be the shock wave from it coming up and exiting. As opposed to if it was just entering the water, you probably would only see the splash on the surface and you wouldn't see any disturbance underneath. So this being found in such close proximity to that thing that looks literally identically to a Stargate, that the series had it laid out in Antarctica for some part of it, and everything else that correlates, all of these different sites that we have been able to take literally around the world in straight lines. And there's been another network discovered by another channel. And I'm going to say this again. If you find something that you think is interesting, do the homework. I'm going to put the KMZ file, again, down in the description. You can import all of the finds up until this point into your version of Google Earth Pro. Take your location, see if you can correlate it to any others where you can draw, straight lines through multiple other locations to your location. And then, get out your smartphone, point it at your computer screen or your tablet screen or whatever, or just record your phone, however you want to do it, and make your own video. And then give me the link and I'll take a look at the video. But if you're just going to drop coordinates in the comments, they're going to get deleted. I'm not even going to look at them. And I've given this email out and I regret it. I've given emails out twice since I've had my channel, and both times I've regretted it. And this is no change. So, it's not that I'm trying to be antisocial, but I got 100,000 subs. And it's going to be something where if you want to be part of the investigation, pick it up on your own and do your version of it. And this other channel, the reason I say all that, has done that. Has absolutely done a fantastic job, found a site that they believed in, and has correlated it to at least 8 other sites. And that other channel, I'm not going to mention it because it's caused problems before. they're going to put a video out and cover this. And with my blessing, because it's their work. You know, that's why I share the information so that people can do it themselves. But I don't think it's a stretch. I really don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that there are factions in our government that if they were going to try to hide something, this would be what they would hide. Because they would, want to have some kind of an edge, some kind of an advantage, human beings being what they are. And the way they develop, I could spend an hour talking about all of the different things that go on in the series, Stargate Atlantis, SG-1, that mimic and have mimicked events that have eventually happened in real life. No lie. I mean, a lot of these sci-fi stories, these series, they're derivative. They've taken something that's already happened, and then they make something based on that. This series literally was so cutting edge that it predicted so many different things. And the bad guys at Stargate Atlantis, the Wraith, you should honestly look into that and how long ago that was and what the real story is, because it's frightening to see the parallels. It's a 90s-ish era, so as far as the it's not real high def, but once you get into it, you'll be captivated and you'll be like, oh my gosh, they knew that in 1996 or 7 or 8 or 9 or whenever this started. And it's 2019 now. It's pretty amazing. But anyway, for those of you that want to make, and this will be the last thing I'll say, I think it could be both a transport and a defense system. And this map on the right is why. It's the original reason we built the Eisenhower. It wasn't just for commercial purposes, it was for defense purposes. And if you were defending a planet on that scale, and we're talking about, ancient man here, and they had this technology, they would have needed the ability to get from point to point to point to point all over the planet very quickly. And this could be just their version of the Eisenhower. So, and that's why they called it the system of interstate and defense highways. So, we'll leave it there. On the left, that thing we found, pretty sure that's some modern real-world version of a puddle jumper. Like, share, subscribe.